Hi, I'm Robin, as you know, so welcome back to my channel. I have a video that I hope to make maybe weekly or twice a month at least, and that is my weekly reads. Now, because I just started making videos again on this channel a few days back, I haven't had a July first week of reads, and I just completed my second week. So I thought, okay, we'll combine weeks 1 and week 2, and then next week we'll just focus on week 3. So what has happened so far since I have made a video? Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run over to an app. It's called Bookly, and maybe, just maybe, I can show you this on the screen. I thought I would interrupt my own self to show you Bookly. I just have hit the icon for that. It shows you Love Haters by Catherine Center, because that's the book I'm reading. And if we go back, we're going to go back to the first. We're almost there. These are the first 8 books that I read in July. It's Elementary by Elise Bryant. Fight for the Right to Read. Sorry for the book cover being cut off. This app only shows portrait mode, but this book is done in landscape mode. Then we had Jennifer Ashley's Speculation in Sin, which I didn't talk about, so I have to go and talk about that. Then we have Every Last Fear, Night Shift by Alex Finley, and Parents Weekend by Alex Finley. And then The Game is Afoot by Elise Bryant, and then Party of Liars by Kelsey Cox. Those are the books that I read so far in that first week that we're going to talk about. I don't think I can generate any, I don't know, let's see what I can generate. When I generate this, it says 9 books because Murder Takes a Vacation takes place in the second week. But there you have a video representation of the first 8 books if you don't take in there Murder Takes a Vacation. So I'm going to stop this and bring you back to me. So let's talk about these books. The first, and I'm not always going to put them in order, especially because I can see 2 books that are kind of connected, and that are part of the series, and 3 books that are kind of connected. So the first one we're going to talk about is It's Elementary by Elise Bryant. Now, this was a library book, and I read this book because I had the second book in the series, and I wanted to obviously have the continuity going, so therefore I read the first one. This is Mavis Miller #1. In this first book, Mavis, and if you've watched my videos, I'm not sure which order I'm putting them up. I've already talked about these books individually, but in this first book, we meet Mavis. She's the mother of a 9-year-old daughter named Pearl, and she is a single parent, divorced from Corey, and she's just dropping Pearl off at school one day. And when she drops Pearl off, what happens? She gets accosted by another parent, and this parent is like, "We need you to join the PTA. You should be part of it. Why aren't you part of it?" And Mavis is like, I'm too busy. I have a job. I'm a single parent. I have responsibilities. But the woman is putting the screws in really hard and making Mavis feel guilty for not accepting. Now, it doesn't really elaborate on this, but the basic reason that they wanted they wanted Mavis on the PTA was they needed Black representation. They needed a Black token woman. And that was Trisha Holbrook, who was pushing and pushing and pushing Mavis. Well, as it turns out, one night, Mavis is at the school and she notices that Trisha is lugging heavy items to the trunk of her car. She doesn't really think much about it, but then the next day they find out that the principal of the school was found dead. So Mavis connects point one and point two. Well, if the principal is found dead and I saw Trisha lugging things at night into a car, Trisha must have killed him because he just disappeared. Where is he? Why is, so that's the connection. So Mavis decides, I'm going to be the one to find out what happened to Richard. Excuse me, did I say Richard? His name must have been Richard. I don't know why that just came to me. But she wanted to be the one to find out what happened to the principal. And that is how this series is introduced and how we meet Mavis and what she's all about. And then when we move on to book 2 in the series, The Game is Afoot, Mavis now is really disappointed because at the end of book 1, we find out that a promotion that Mavis was fighting for, that she deserved, she had every right to achieve, was denied her and given to someone else. So she hasn't let that go. And in fact, she quits her job rashly. She makes a rash decision to quit her job. And as she does that, she has all this extra time. At least that's what she thinks. But next thing you know, she's running Pearl here and she's running Pearl there. And Pearl is in this activity and Pearl's in that activity. But then there's another side of the story I want to mention. In book 1, Mavis was very enthralled by the school psychologist, Jack. He was gorgeous. He had a body to die for. And Mavis felt like, for the first time in her life, she might even involve herself in a interracial relationship. That's just like a slow burn. But then in this book, Corey, her ex-husband, Pearl's father, he's back. And he's talking about not just being there for Pearl, but he wants to be there for Mavis as well. And if he can be there for Mavis, then maybe the two can get back together. So that's a little different part of the book. Okay, so first you got the situation. I don't know even, did I even say it? The soccer, I didn't say it. Okay. The first part, like I said, is Mavis quits her job. Second thing to mention is the possible love triangle between Mavis, Jack, and Corey. The third thing to mention is that one day when Mavis is dropping Pearl off at soccer, she finds out that the soccer coach dropped dead on the field. Was it foul play? Was it natural causes? What happened to the soccer coach? So Mavis said, I solved that disappearing principal situation. Maybe I can solve this dead soccer coach situation. So from PTA to PI. So now we see Mavis as she is going to be the one that is solving some crimes. So those are the first 2 books. So let's go to the next book that I read. And I'm getting my list basically from either Goodreads or my spreadsheet. And so if you see me looking down or you see the reflection, you know I'm looking at one of my iPads. I've got them both right here. So I'm going to just put this in right here before I proceed with the video because I did leave Jennifer Ashley's book, Speculations in Sin, out. I don't want to forget to mention that because I did read this book during the first part of the month. This was the 7th book in her Below Stairs mystery series. Now, I'd like to just flash all the books in the series, and I'm going to make a clip that will do that, and I will be inserting it in this spot. Okay, here are the 8 full-length novels for the Below Stairs Cat Holloway mysteries, all cozies. Jennifer Ashley's Death Below Stairs, Scandal Above Stairs, Death in Kew Gardens, Murder in the East End, Death at Crystal Palace, The Secret of Bow Lane, Speculations in Sin, which I just read this past week, And then what's coming out August 12th, A Silence in Belgrave Square. So as you look at these covers, you can see that it takes place in the Victorian era. And I also wanted to let you know that there are a few novellas that your library may have, but I did not read any of the novellas. So I'll get back to my video. But now that we're going to be getting back to the book itself, this is a Below Stairs mystery. Now, it takes place, I think, in the late 1800s, early 1900s. I didn't get the Victorian era. It takes place during the Victorian era, and we have our amateur sleuth. Her name is Kat Holloway, and she has been very instrumental in solving murders here and there in this really nice I want to say generation era, but Victorian era set back, where you have your upstairs and your downstairs. You have your elite folks, and then you have your servants. And Kat Holloway is always like kind of on the fringes of things, because she wants to solve what's going on above stairs, and then her connection to what's going on below stairs. But like I just showed you, I just did a slideshow of the first of all the books in the series, but I have read them all. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not telling you too much about this book because I didn't review it. I do have A Silence in Belgrave Square coming up. Okay? A Silence in Belgrave Square comes out August 12th, which I will read before August 12th and review on this channel. So because I read the first 6 books and now I have the 8th book for review, I realized I didn't read book 7, which was Speculations in Sin. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Let me go ahead and get this editing in, and I will talk about our very next book. Okay, so the next book I read for the first week is Fight for the Right to Read. This was a co-written book by Jeff Goddesfield and Michelle Y. Green, and it was illustrated by Kim Holt. Now, this was a different book for me, completely out of my wheelhouse. But first, I want to give you the full name of the book. Fight for the Right to Read, Samuel Wilbert Tucker in the 1939 sit-down strike for library reading equality. Again, a children's book. So I get approached by Mr. Goddesfield, and he asked me if I could review this book. I said sure, but I'll stick it on the back burner because it doesn't come out until September 9th. And then I did look at it on Goodreads to put it in my want to read, and I knew it was only 36 pages. So later that same day or same night, I decided, hey, let me take a look at this book. This was unbelievable. In fact, I've already made a video review of this book, which will go up in September. When I'm recording this video, today is the 14th, but I recorded that video about 5 days ago. So literally I recorded the video 2 months before it'll come on this channel. But you'll hear me talk more about the book, some of my experiences, and how this book, as targeted to children ages 7 to 13, they can learn about a person in history that doesn't get spoken of in history books, and his name was Samuel Wilbert Tucker. And I just give you one tidbit. Sit-ins became a big thing with Martin Luther King's civil rights movement. Well, as it turns out, Samuel Wilbert Tucker, and he went by Wilbert. If you read this book or you find him in the looking deep into the net, but he came up with a plan to help get a library that had just opened in Alexandria, Virginia, to accept Black people as coming in. And the last thing I'll say about this book is that case. He was a lawyer. Samuel Wilbert Tucker was a lawyer. Didn't go to law school, but he passed the bar, got his law degree. The case that he was fighting for the Blacks to have the right to read there in Alexandria, Virginia, did not get settled until 1959. 20 years, that battle. So that's all I want to say, because you've got a couple months before you'll see even that book review. This book I read was Second Chance at Second Chance at Sunshine Inn, and this is by Amy Clipson. And I've read maybe 2 or 3 books by her already. I'm just gonna go by my notes. By my memory. And I do want to just cheat and get the principal character. We have Everly Hartnett and Cade Witherspoon. That's pretty much all I needed was their names properly. Everly is attending her beloved godmother's funeral, and then she's also there for the will to be read. Now, Everly and her godmother had a special relationship, and anything that Everly ever needed in life that her godmother thought could help her, she did for or with Everly. So now Everly's at the will reading, and the attorney handling the will starts to read, and Everly is left everything, all of her godmother's assets and things of that nature, but she's also left her godmother's bed and breakfast. But there's a caveat. She was willed 50% of that bread and breakfast. And like I said, the other character is Cade Witherspoon. He's a complete stranger to Everly, but he's the other 50% owner of this inn, of this bed and breakfast. So you see what I'm doing here? They knock heads right from the start. He wants to keep the inn running. He wants to reopen the base so that people can come in and stay. Everly just wants to sell and move on. But she's not just selling for she doesn't want to just sell for financial gain. She wants to sell because her and her godmother had a dream of opening a particular nonprofit, and the sale of the inn would give her the ability to open this nonprofit in memory of her godmother. But it's a romance, a clean Christian romance. Not a lot of, I don't think anything is mentioned of faith in there, but it's just a clean romance, closed door, slow burn, and I did love it. I really, really did. Then we're going to jump on to Every Last Fear, The Night Shift, and Parents Weekend. These were by Alex Finlay, and I will have all 3 of those covers on the screen. And each book had a case, and not like a primary character, but like a secondary character. We had an FBI agent who was present in each of the books. Her name was, I want to say her name, but I can't say her name right now. It'll come to me, don't worry. Anyway, the first one was a debut novel of Alex Finlay. And by the way, even before I read Every Last Fear, The Night Shift, and Parents Weekend by Alex Finlay, previously I had read If Something Happens to Me, What Have We Done? So I read What Have We Done and If Something Happens to Me. But by reading the 3 books that I'm going to have on the screen, that brings me to having read all of Alex Finlay's works currently, but starting with the debut novel of Every Last Fear. Every Last Fear was about the Pine family. Now you have Matt Pine, a student at NYU living on campus away from his family, and he gets the tragic news that most of his family was found dead of a gas leak in Mexico. Most of his family consisted of his mother, his father, his sister, and his 9-year-old younger brother. He has one more family member left, and that family member is Danny. Danny's away in prison, convicted of killing his girlfriend. And Matt wants to find out what really happened to his family all the way there in, in Mexico. So first he goes back to his hometown, and then in his quest to find out what happened to his family, he goes to Mexico. But as the story, and this is what I like about certain books, the story had two features that really draw me to books: a dual timeline, then and now, and three principal characters, which would have been Matt, Danny, and Matt's sister, who had POV as far as the whole reason that the family went to Mexico in the first place. You even get a couple of the father's chapters from the father's POV. So I love that Alex Pine did that. He threw in the various timelines and the various points of view. Now, I moved quickly right on to the night shift. Again, Alex Finlay, and the FBI agent who was handling the Pine case is now also handling what's going on in the night shift. Now, the night shift, again, dual timeline, multiple perspectives. And the first part of it is there were 4 girls that were attacked at a Blockbuster video 15 years previously. Three of the girls passed, 1 survived. Then currently, there's a brutal attack of 4 girls at an ice cream shop. 3 die and 1 survives. So the parents and the principal are at the hospital with the survivor of the ice cream shop situation. And the principal calls Emma, I think it's Emma, I hope I have her name right, calls her and asks her if she would go and talk to the girl that had survived the attack. She's not thinking that she's in any way Ella. Okay, I thought it was Emma. Ella feels like, I'm not qualified to talk to this child. But he's like, no, there's something about your peculiar situation that would make you connect with her. And her name was Jessie. Please go see Jessie and try to help her. So now Ella and Jessie connect. That's when they meet. And Ella is working hard to try to figure out what happened to Jessie. But we also, like I said, dual timeline 15 years ago, find out that Ella was the sole survivor of the Blockbuster video attack. So that's the drama there. And like I said, we have the FBI agent Sarah Keller, back in this situation where she herself is the investigating FBI agent. And then I moved on to Parents Weekend, and again, another Alex Finlay book. And in this book, we have, I want to say an elite school. I don't know if it was truly elite, but you have 5 college freshmen, and it is now Parents Weekend. So all the parents gather, and they go from wherever they are, and they go to the college, and they're going to spend the weekend visiting their children, who again are 5 college freshmen. Well, the first big thing is a lavish event, or lavish dinner event. When the dinner is taking place, the parents are there and all the luscious things that are there for that dinner, but the children are nowhere to be found. That's day one. I'm going to assume it's Friday because the book takes place over only a couple of days. And then the next morning, the kids are still missing. So when the local police couldn't find out what happened to the kids, then Special Agent Sarah Keller is called in. And because she's called in, she now has oversight as to what happened to these kids. And one thing that I liked about this book was it took place only over 2 to 3 short days. But it was so rich and so full of drama and tension that it was hard to believe that this took place in such a short time. But when you read the book, you'll find out why it's important to remember that it took place in a short time. So that's Parents Weekend. I really love that, and I now have read everything that Alex Finlay has put out on Minotaur, which is a St. Martin's book. Then we have Party of Liars by Kelsey Cox. This is about Sophie Matthews' Sweet 16 party. She's about to have a Sweet 16. As it takes place, we also have the drama of Danny. Danny is Sophie's stepmother. The book has really nothing to do with Danny and Sophie's relationship. It just takes place around the time of Sophie's Sweet 16. Well, Danny is a mother that is completely overwhelmed with postpartum depression, a young mother, and that part of the book was hard to read. But then we have other characters with points of view, like Olathe. Olathe is an older nanny, like in her 70s, and she becomes nanny to Danny's baby. And then we do find out that Danny's married to Ethan. Ethan is Sophie's father. I mentioned Ethan's name because another principal character is Kim. Kim is Sophie's mother, Ethan's ex-wife, and she's bitter. Because I want to say something here. When you read this book, you do get the eerie feeling that Danny gets, is that she has moved into a haunted house because strange things begin to happen. While those strange things begin to happen, then we're still dealing with Danny's emotions about being a new parent, a new mother. We're still dealing with Sophie and the other character that I just blanked out on, but her name is Michaela. We deal with their points of view, what's going on with them. We deal with Kim and what's going on with her. And then we deal with Olathe, the elderly Irish nanny, and her thoughts about what's going on in that house and what might have gone in that house 15 years previously. That is Party of Liars by Kelsey Cox. That ends week 1. So I think what I'm going to do is, because I do have to edit this video, I am going to stop with this, and in a day or two, I will bring in week 2 books. How about that? I just talked about 8 books, but in my next video, I'll talk about books number 9 through 16. I think that might be better than a 30-minute video. So I'm going to stop here, edit this, bring in the book covers, and if I need to fix anything, I will edit that in as well. Any mistakes that you see in this video, do know that I was very ill this morning, and I woke up and I'm like, Robin, you haven't made the video that you wanted to make, so that's what I'm doing right now. So thank you for watching, and I will see you soon with part 2 of my weekly reads, and I hope that I can continue doing these in the future. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.